Hello, everyone. We have with us here today Ms. Saee Jondhale. She's the legal head at Believe India. Hi, Saee. It's great to have you here.
Hello, Anushree. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a great honor to be on your platform. And as I said earlier, that it is very nice and insightful to have all the updates from your end. Being an in-house counsel, it is imperative that we keep ourselves updated, and you play a very important role in it.
Thank you so much, Saee. It means a lot. Really appreciate you saying that. So, Saee, the reason for today's conversation is that the Copyright Amendment of 2012 is now completing 9 years.
Yes.
And I think for all of us who've graduated around a little just before the amendment came into place, it's been a very important aspect in our professional journeys. So,
Correct.
What's your take on this amendment? Do you think it has achieved the objective with which it was set? How do you deal with it in your day-to-day,
Sure. So I think for graduates like us who have passed out around that time when this bill was introduced, and then probably it became onto a law, it actually was a life-changing moment for all of us in our practice, in our knowledge of what exactly the copyright laws are. While, of course, the amendment was path-breaking in its spirit, and what it intended, it was kind of achieved. But I still feel that there are points, because it's been almost a decade now. It's going to be almost a decade, and a lot of changes have gone through as to how we perceive music, what the laws are, what the intention of the act is, with the practicality. So I think around that, yes, we do need amendments, we do need clarifications, so that there are less of interpretations, so to say. I mean, as lawyers, we love to interpret everything basis the situation that we are kind of kept in. But yes, it will be extremely enlightening in case if the amendments are brought in.
Sure. So, any specific aspect of the amendment which has really which affects you while dealing with in your transactions, or even from a policy perspective?
Of course, I think the much debated and the controversial section, I would say section 31D. From our perspective, probably from my perspective, so to say, an unwanted and undesired provision. Because let us dive into a little bit of history as to what was the intent of this legislature. It was basically to support the radio industry, the FM radio industry, to encourage more and more radio players to kind of come into the market and kind of get their revenues. At that point of time, the sales were probably in the physical nature, that is CDs and sale of cassettes and DVDs. But I think 10 years down the line, we are more, we have become digital. We have gone completely digital. And I think from my perspective, what I want to emphasize is that though it has not been dwelled completely very clearly into the act, we cannot give the same treatment to online platforms or streaming platforms as the same that we give to the radios, irrespective of even if we interpret what broadcasting for that matter is. But I feel that the same arrangement cannot be given, and attempts have been made to misuse this provision, and it has been obtained with a proper commercial negotiations, license for the other purposes, such as the online streaming services. But I think it is high time that we kind of fix it. We either repeal it or we amend it to kind of bring out clarity in this. So from my perspective, I think, now that the radio industry is no more in its infancy, it's been decades that it has well established. So I think we've outlived the scope of Section 31D. And at least from the point of view of the cost, I mean, from the copyright owners, and in an alternative, I think it should be either be amended or clarified absolutely that it is applicable to the FM radio broadcasters, and it is not applicable to the online streaming platforms.
Right.
And I'm sure that there will be, sorry to cut you, that there will be contradictory views with regard to the definition of broadcast. I'm sure the industry perceives it differently, but yes, I mean, what a broadcast is, as with what a narrowcast is, I think the two are different concepts altogether.
So I think one beauty of our 2012 amendment, I would say beauty to keep this in a positive spirit, is that it has, I think, given scope for each side to interpret it in its favor. So, I mean, the way the amendment has been drafted, every side has a way to kind of, deal with it in a way that suits them the best.
Correct. And that's why, as I said, that interpreting the law is lawyers' favorite activity. And of course, it gives us a lot of scope of understanding and researching. But I think it's time that we kind of fix this loophole. And I think this is one aspect. And then especially recently, the two contradictory views that we saw in, again, an interpretation of the IPAB order was passed and then followed by the Delhi High Court. Even there, as I said, that interpretation is the best that we do, wherein the IPAB clearly set out that when that it fixed separate royalty, statutory royalty rates to be applicable, to be payable to the owners of the sound recordings and the underlying works for the radio broadcast. And just, I think, after 5 days of this act, the Delhi High Court completely opposite judgment was kind of passed, that the sound recordings and the broadcast, the underlying works need not be considered to be utilized as independent. So, and I think not that one law is going to overrule the other. So either we went, and both of them were observed by single benches. So either we wait for someone to kind of knock the doors of the Supreme Court, or alternatively propose an amendment to 1910.
Yeah, so I think those appeals which are pending, I mean, eventually it will reach that stage, and hopefully we should have clarity on this position of law soon. So Saee, I think you must be dealing with a lot of artists in your day-to-day routine. How do they perceive the amendment? I mean, are they getting their royalties? Are they is there awareness about it now in all these last few years?
Unfortunately, I wouldn't say that they are completely blank, but then from an artist perspective, they are creative people, right? Their work is to do creative jobs, creative work. And unfortunately, while most of them have the privilege of kind of hiring very well esteemed, educated lawyers who will pass on the knowledge to the artist, but yes, a lot of artists do not have the mechanisms to kind of have such clarity. And we on a day-to-day basis, it is our endeavor to ensure that the artist at the end of the day gets his due. So that again is a, what you say, it's a constant endeavor, or a constant mechanism that we kind of see. Obviously, the artist, the producer being the entire whole absolute owner, somewhere the right holders, their creativity is missed, their due is missed, obviously. And I think as an industry, we need to kind of recognize that as well, bring around a change to that aspect as well.
Right. I think with platforms like Believe now coming up, indie music will be it's seeing its growth. You have a lot of artists starting their own labels and going with the self distribution method. So do you think this is like changing the way the music industry has been traditionally working?
Of course, it will. In fact, because today I think artist is the god, and let's be fair, and I believe also that is what we upheld our values, that the artist interest is the prime interest, and we always ensure that transparency, which is one of our guiding principles, so to say, we always ensure that we do due justice to the artists. So all our, I think, transactions as well. In fact, from an artist services point of view also, wherein we scout for talents from small places, and the idea is to give them a platform so that as an artist, they may not have all the means to come up with the creativity. So yes, from my organization standpoint and from my personal experience also, I have seen that this is changing, and companies like Believe and so many other platforms are helping the artist to achieve this.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Saee. It was lovely, speaking with you and discussing on these important aspects. And let's hope that we have a more a clearer legislation in the days to come, and hopefully all these contradictory judgments and other issues which have been facing get resolved soon, and we work in a symbiotic way in the relationship.
Yes, we hope so. And I think a lot of it all depends, in fact, on our fraternity, the representation that we make. There is so many conflicting opinions amongst ourselves itself. So it actually becomes so difficult to come to a common ground. I can imagine what the court's plight must be going through. But yes, I do hope that the industry as a whole comes together and kind of makes the right representation.
Great, great, great. So thanks, Saee.
Thank you so much, Anushree, on that note. Thank you so much.